Hey, Brandon.
Hello. Wow.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Raj.
Hey.
Is it me or you got some longer hair than I'm used to?
Yeah, I've got quarantine hair. Haven't had it cut since February.
Uh, Is the missus okay with the quarantine hair? Should she like the rock star look?
Well, I've had it before, and I've got it again.
I'd give anything to have quarantine hair.
um, we did buy some clippers, but she hasn't used them on me yet.
Probably safer.
Yeah. I was gonna put it all in a ponytail, you know.
So I just got something today I have to share with all of you. Since all of us are basically nerds in like sound as well. So I just got some new headphones in the mail today, and I have never heard better headphones in my life. Like they were really expensive,
Are they
but
Sony? What are they?
no, they're the SRH 1840s. I bought them for like mastering and mixing, so like Logic and stuff like that. And holy crap, like not only can you hear every instrument and every detail, it's like I can hear the distance from the mic, like the mic placement. It's like they're so transparent. So if you feel like splurging, I found a good discount on these because they normally cost $500. I got them for $380, which is still a lot for headphones. But wow, I've never heard like it's like almost,
380.
yeah, like my ears are just like I don't know, they're just in love right now. Like these sound so good.
What are they? They're sure what?
Sure, SRH 1840. They're open back headphones, and they just
Okay.
Did you buy them in spec? Like, had you listened to them before, or did you just like, oh, I think these are going to be good. Here's $400. Click. Like,
I listened and watched and read like 1,000,002 reviews.
okay,
And then, so I bought them, and then I had a return policy, so I have 30 days. But I mean,
you're
there's no
keeping
way
them.
I'm sending them back. Yeah, it sounds so good. Like like because I have Bose Quiet Comfort 2s if you know those headphones, and they sound really great. But like these are like it's just so transparent. It's awesome. So if you ever feel like splurging, I recommend those if you want to do any sound editing or just like I was listening to a recording of Mahler 1, and I could even hear the contrabassoon. Like it was crazy, like how just transparent they are. So
I
just
guess
had to,
they're wired, right? No, they're not Bluetooth or anything. Yeah.
they're actually wired to like each thing is wired separately. So that's a little weird having it like that. Like I guess like having earplugs again kind of thing. But yeah, they're super awesome. So I just wanted to share that with y'all.
Thanks.
Are you gonna, fund it if we decide to, go that route? Do you have some money laying around to help me out on the $300, $400 paycheck?
I
Jeez.
don't have any money laying around. This was a stretch. This was a splurge because I'm doing some editing. I was like, I need good headphones, and so I was gonna buy I was gonna buy cheaper headphones, but everything I read was like, I got to go for these. Go big or go home.
Oh man. It took me about a month to pull the trigger on these, and it was $32 on Amazon. And it's like, sweetie, can I please buy these? I think I need them. She's like, well, I don't know.
Well, I'll be at school on Friday, so if you want to try them, I can.
I do.
Yeah,
I want to try.
I have another ed seminar, so.
Oh joy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm on my last remaining pair of Sony Walkman headphones from the 80s. And they actually sound better than anything else I've listened to made recently. So the day they die, I'm going after your headphones.
That's actually really awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I had good headphones back, I think I bought them when I was in high school, but that's how long ago it's been since I bought an expensive pair of headphones.
I know you're really into sound too, so I wanted to mention that too because I know you've been mixing and stuff.
Well, if you get a chance to pick up a pair of these old Sony Walkman headphones, they're really good.
All right, I'll keep that in mind.
Aaron, while we're still wasting time before everybody gets here, what did you decide about your cage piece?
I don't know. I'm still on the fence because I was thinking about, and when you said about why not just do 1.4 on the quad, I was like, yeah, why not just do that? And so I have a really good mic which has a large pattern and a windscreen for the mic. So I think I could just set that like 10 feet away from me, and because it's percussion, I'll still pick up. It'll also pick up all the sounds of the quad. So I think I may just play 1.4 on the quad for my recital.
Good. I think that was the best idea of those two, to combine it. Pretty much everything in the latter half of his, composition career, it was like, well, you can play this with that and that with that, and put these together and play that outside, played it at the same time. Like, I mean, he didn't really care, It's actually, he actually promoted it. He called it a music circus. So anyway, just do it all. Record it, and it'll be an awesome recording of not just your percussion, but then all of the sounds count, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who was it back in the 50s that played the classical music stuff with like kitchen utensils and blenders and toasters?
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember who it was because the film of it.
That wasn't Cage?
No, it wasn't. I'm trying to, what, Ernie Kovacs maybe? But some of it's pretty amazing.
like he played like classical pieces, or he played
Yeah.
like modern Oh, so he just like he would take like Beethoven and play with kitchen stuff.
Yeah, or the 1812 overture or something like that, some kind of flashy piece. And just have all, and the video of it is wild too, because you see everything being played and some of it's automated.
Hmm, that's cool.
Well, does anybody know anything about Dr. Whitfield?
I mean, you're the only teacher in the room right now.
I do not know where he is, but we certainly don't. I guess it's already 7 after. We probably shouldn't wait too much longer.
For our best guess, so there you go.
I don't know. I haven't seen him today to ask him about him being here, but he doesn't usually miss, and if he misses, he usually tells us. But I don't know, Carter. I'd say get on. We don't have to wait forever.
Yeah, my first official starting an SCI meeting. Woo.
Do you have the gavel?
I don't.
I haven't seen him. I'll see him on Friday. I'll give it to him on Friday. Carter,
Okay.
I'll find you on Friday. I'll give it to you.
Perfect. But anyway, Bishop did say that he wasn't going to be here, so he had something to do. But anyway, let's see if anyone has a piece to start with, and we can see if we can figure out the technology. Does anybody have anything off the top?
I've got something. I just don't know how well it's going to work over a screen share.
Yeah. Well, let's try it and see.
Okay, let me see. Never done this before. I'm about to look like the professors that have never done this before.
So you'll look graceful and elegant and well rehearsed.
Okay, here we go. All right, can we see that?
Yep.
Well, let's hope the playback looks good. Playback sounds good. Okay. So I guess just to talk a little bit about this, I am in the process of writing a mass. Depending on the timestamp at the end of the mass, I'm hoping for the 15-minute mass to be my title. There was a play one time called the 15-minute Hamlet, and that's kind of where I wanted to draw that from. So let's hope the timestamp works out in the end. But this is the Sanctus, and yeah, let's just hope the playback works. You hear that? So that's about it.
Nice job, Chris.
Thank you, sir.
Very nice. I like your ending. I like how you wrapped things up.
Yeah, I had I almost did the same thing as the beginning, but I said no, that one choral piece kind of did that. So I said I'll switch it up. I'll give the accompanist something else to do than just constant G. um,
Oh, accompanists are fine with that.
that's right, yeah.
Lay low, same dough.
Just easy compared to most things, anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Unless you're writing for a specific ensemble in mind, have you thought of orchestrating your accompaniment, at least maybe to like a small string quartet or something with that repetitive notes? It might translate a little better on a smoother instrument. No offense to piano, but just
Yeah.
hearing the note
Yeah.
over and over again.
Well, and I definitely think there's some delicate playing that I can't quite get finale to do that I would think the accompanist would know how to do. Like, I mean, it's a mezzo piano section in the first and the last part. You know, you're not going to sit there and hammer out 2 octave Gs, you know, but I mean, I do understand it. It is a really, you know, percussive instrument, especially with that. The only thing about the strings is that it was kind of the same issue with the Gloria, because I ended up kind of wanting to take at least for now, I took the strings out of the equation. I went back and listened to it for with the piano. But I just I'm not quite as good with writing for strings. I'd have to get some help on that. But yeah, it's definitely a possibility. Just break the parts up and kind of throw them into strings. Yeah.
And you can consider what performance forces you think you would have at hand. Hate to sound like old negative Nelly with COVID going on, but like something that's performed with strings, you're thinking, okay, well, how many strings are we talking? How many people are you paying now? What your church is already having trouble as it is, and now you're asking them to play something with 4 string parts and a piano part and everything. I mean, I don't know. It's just something to consider. The idea right now of writing a Mahler 8 with a zillion people needed to perform, just I don't think that's all that wise. And so
Right.
I'm okay with the piano. I know I'm biased, but I mean I'm okay with just the piano for well, everything.
Yeah, I definitely was. I wasn't trying to. Obviously, I cannot play piano quite as well as some other people. You being one of them, Dr. Moser. But you know, this is something like if I ended up having to play it, I could.
Yeah, you could.
Like I'd have to practice a lot, but I could probably.
Yeah,
Like,
well, that's
and
why
in my own thought process and things like that, just because it's what I know best. So.
Well, it that has got some positives and negatives, Chris. The positive, of course, of a composer being able to play his or her own works is huge. I know that when Nathaniel, y'all remember Nathaniel, when he got to Peabody, the first thing that his Peabody guy told him is that he needs to practice his own pieces at least a couple hours a week. And Nathaniel kind of squinted his eyes like, well, what are you talking about? And he says, you'll never know when you'll need to demonstrate something that you've written for somebody. And if you get down to the piano and you're like, well, yeah, I can't really play this, but I mean, it goes something like this. It's like, okay, next. Like you're not going to win the gig. You're not going to get noticed unless, you actually can do it somewhat decently. Of course, no one's expecting you to be a Carnegie Hall pianist, but if you can hack through your own work and actually make some musical sense of it when you give someone the score and say, oh yeah, I really like this part here, and you noodle around on the piano, that's important for everybody. I mean, it's no surprise we make everybody do piano proficiency. It's so easy to demonstrate stuff on the piano. The bad side about that, though, is that a lot like another composer that used to be here that some of you may remember, at least his name, Christian Jessup. Christian was pretty good at the piano, but he wrote for the piano and he wrote what he could play. And then it's kind of like it was this big epiphany when he was about halfway through his composition degree here, where he realized, wait a minute, I don't have to be just stuck with what I can do with my own fingers. I can write music that I want to hear, and somebody else will play it. And so you can get into a rut. I know this for my own self, getting in a rut of writing stuff that feels good to my hands and feels good to the instrument that I'm writing in because I know it well. Well, just because your piano skills are limited doesn't mean your compositional use of the piano needs to be there.
If you are keeping it simple, there's another advantage as well as more churches could do this if you want like a church to do it. Because like, I mean, I'll tell you, my church, I'm kind of the keyboard player, and I say keyboard player, not even pianist, because that just shows what our church has. So like something like this could have more like playability by multiple churches if you do keep it simple. Even though like, I mean, I suggested string because I think that would fit, but if you're keeping it simple, that is a good way to have your piece more playability as well.
And nobody's all terribly interested in doing this, but a good number of churches now are using some type of backtrack, or you could do what Aaron's asking with orchestrating some of this for strings, and then push a good MP3 recording of that string, because it is so steady. You don't. I know you have some rubato sections, but they're not that frequent, and some of the times that you are doing it, you even like have a rest, like an entire measure rest of breath before, and you even have it built in. So it's like you could rehearse that with a choir and say, okay, you guys ready? Go. Like it wouldn't be perfect, but then you could actually have that and just play it over the speakers. If I'm not mistaken, Dr. Sparty's church does that, where almost all of their stuff is a CD that they push play and they sing to it. So if you do want to write things that are harder than you can play, but you still want it to be performed in a church, nowadays too, when everything's virtual, heck, having a little backtrack that you just push play on, I don't know, might get played.
There was something I saw, I think one instance of it was near the beginning of the piece, if you could scroll back to that I thought you might want to notate a little differently.
Around this section, this one I just wanted to kind of give a weird sense of where the tonality is.
No, that wasn't
it.
Unless I just completely missed what I was looking.
Yeah, I didn't know how far in the beginning you were talking about.
Roger, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Sorry, the first couple of measures. On the Sanctus, where you've got the fermatas, and finale just slows and plays your G's and the accompaniment very slowly, and then picks back up. And I was wondering if maybe more what you intended would be to add a measure, have the Sanctus, and then the accompaniment picks back up in the following measure. And there's no piano other than maybe a single note.
Right.
Am I saying this clearly? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand. I think what I was going for was for those G's to be directed by the director. Like, I mean, because it's in tempo until it gets to the twos part, and then
Right.
I was just imagining boom, 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 and then they all get back, and then it gets back into the original tempo right there.
Okay.
That's kind of what I was envisioning right there, but I do see what you mean.
Okay. Yeah, it does that. If you
It actually ended up doing what I kind of wanted it to do, because I knew if I put fermatas on each individual quarter note, it was going to be way too long. Because finale loves to make the fermatas way too long.
But you'll have to remember, if you're not the one playing the piano part, that if the pianist is just there and you give it to a church pianist who's not necessarily going to be really active actively looking at all of the other 5 vocal parts. The piano part just looks like it's straight ahead G's, and there's no sense that you're going to actually like, well, wait, slow this down. Oh, wait, I want to direct this part. So the piano part needs something, even if it's just a ritardando or something like, look at the director. I don't know, something.
You would at least want to put a fermata over the first G's in that measure, I would think. I don't think that would make finale play it differently, but I'm just thinking in terms of for people to know what you meant.
Right. Well, since it's already doing it on its own, if I just put something there that tells the person that it's supposed to be directed, like it's I forget the word that most choral pieces use. I don't know if it is directed or not, but it's which means watch the conductor. So I mean, like they're given, like each note is given to play. So.
Which, of course, the easy way to do that would be to put 3 fermatas on that measure and then to say, to heck with how finale plays it back, because who cares how finale plays it back? Like, I mean,
right.
we know that that's not the real music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and it's somewhere in my choral directing class flashcards.
Yeah, I can't think of the name of it, but it's basically what everything means. Watch the conductor at some point. So.
While you have this part open, I'm not sure what kind of sound you want on that first full chord, because we're at the beginning, right? It's the beginning. Yeah. When you on the fermata, it may be worth maybe when you actually can hear some people sing this, is changing the tenor from it to going to an F sharp to a G instead of going down to the E, because just depending like.
That's a D to a C. It's the treble.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was reading bass clef. Never mind. Completely forgot what I'm talking about. I was about to say it. Never mind. Completely forgot.
Aaron, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I know. Were you the president of this club before?
One thing when I'm writing choral music, because I don't write a lot of it either, is I'll get a a piece of choral music, and one thing that I've noticed is like your dynamics markings should be over the staff and not under them.
Okay.
While we're on just the nuts and bolts of choral writing, most choral writing, Chris, would when you're singing some syllable of a word like san from Sanctus, and it has multiple notes, there'd be some type of we call it a slur, I guess, but a mark. You can call it a slur because it would look the same. But like your first entire measure would have some type of slur from the D all the way to the F sharp. I think I'm reading treble clef correctly, Aaron. And that way we'll know that you were meaning to do sa ha 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 all in the one. Now it makes me wonder what you want the soloist to do with those double F sharps. 2 F sharps in the first measure, when it's still sa. Are you wanting us to do sa
It's supposed to be connected. Now I see what you mean.
Right. So for instrumental writing, that would work, but for vocal writing, it's slightly different, and you need to keep that in mind. That is a strength. The second time it's around, when the F sharp goes up to the A, you have no problem. Put a slur over that whole measure and you're fine. But the first one, make that a half note if you want it to hold it, or if you want them to again. But I doubt you want them to do sa ha too. It's probably not that.
I think the reason it's like that is because I might have had a different note in mind when I first wrote that, and I changed it, and it just looked okay. I never realized that it was the same note and the same syllable.
And finale's not going to distinguish it really very well, so you won't hear the but a vocalist would look at that and say, that doesn't look like vocal writing. It looks like instrumental writing.
I take it a half note. And because the other parts are going to give you beat 3 there when they come in on saw.
Right.
So you're going to get, you're going to get something there. So I think Dr. Moser's right that it doesn't look like what vocalists are used to seeing. But if you made it a half note,
as a rule, you'd slur everything that falls under the same vowel sound. Like we can see a little bit of the next page, dominus. You would slur those first three notes in the tenor line.
Right. All the way from the B all the way to the D, and then the me would be itself, right? So you have a lot of slurring to do, Chris, just to make this look a little bit more normal.
No, I definitely intend to make it look more published ready. I think what I was envisioning was, don't make it look pretty. If there's a lot you still have to do left, you know, like, so if it is just going to be, if I'm happy with how it sits, I'm definitely going to go back and make sure, you know, everything looks and is going to sound the way it's going to look on the paper. So yeah, definitely.
If you, that's a good way to approach it, but also if you study some choral music and see how things are notated and get used to doing it that way in the first place, then you've got a lot less cleanup to do at the end.
Yeah. I think I always just try and write notes down because I'm afraid I'll forget them. I'm like, I gotta keep this here. I don't want to forget what this sounds like. Yeah.
Well, that's a good point.
It's a good piece, though. I like it.
Yeah, indeed, I do too.
Does anything sound? I'm a big fan of like cluster sounds. Not so much like a cluster chord, but like I do like dissonance. Is there anything where the dissonance is like too much? I know I get a little carried away with that at some point.
Before anyone else says anything, there's no such thing as too much dissonance.
I didn't notice much dissonance at all.
The part that, and I assume it might just be because of the fierceness of finale when you put two Fs or a forte on something. This particular section just gets a little much for the speakers, I guess. So it may just sound like there's a lot of dissonance when there's probably not. So
what I enjoyed most about it, frankly, is the opposite of what it is you're saying. That the dissonance that you're talking about, you're still firmly within G major, and you're within G major the entire time. And not even that. Most of the time, it's going back and forth between 1 and 4. And so we get this like almost a minimalist build over the span of the 5 or 10 minutes that this was playing, where you're used to the harmonies and all that's changing are the diatonic notes in G major that are above it. And sometimes a C major has the regular old C, E, G, but sometimes it has extra notes in it. So it's not, I guess you could view it as dissonant if you look at it through a hypersensitive lens of, okay, this isn't a triad every measure, but really it's just a diatonic wash of G major that just fits so well with saying Hosanna in the highest. I don't know. It feels very much like, yeah, nice. All G major, no huge dissonance, but also not just 1 to 4 to 1 to 4. Like you're adding more notes in there.
right.
But on the other hand, it's not the point of being this kind of blah pan-diatonicism. I don't think you want that.
Right.
Yeah, the piano keeps that from happening when you have your very distinguished downbeats with your do and your fa and your do and your fa. So I think we're grounded harmonically, that it's not a total wash. I guess that Dr. Whitfield's right. It's not just like this. I shouldn't have used the word wash because we still are grounded.
Right. All right. Anything else from anybody, or? I don't know if I'm keeping anybody from sharing anything. It didn't look like everybody was like, ooh, me.
Yeah, if we have someone else, then go ahead. If not, I think Jarin has something.
Cool.
You'll have to unshare, Chris. I don't know if I can unshare you from
Yeah,
here.
I can stop the share. Yeah, I think I fixed it right there.
There are more of you here than there were when we started. Hello, everybody.
Chris, were you using a plug-in or anything to be able to share Finale?
No, I just I started sharing the screen and the playback seemed to work for everybody. So
Roger, to that end, what I think happened is At least I don't know if y'all's recording sounded good when you were listening to his stuff. Mine was very distorted in what I think was happening. Chris, were you playing it with your speakers of your laptop? I think the speakers of your laptop were then being recorded by your microphone on your laptop, and so I had a couple moments where it was difficult to hear because Zoom was going in and out and stuff. So to your end, Roger, I didn't look up. I told you I would. I didn't look up how to push Finale it directly to Zoom, so we don't have to go through that weird thing that Chris just did. But I can certainly look it up.
All right, here we go. This is, yeah, this is my piece. I just wrote like two like electric bass duets. They're not long. I think after like the first measure of that one held out note, I just kind of said, "What sounds good?" I just stopped looking at keys. So I might be in a key, I might not. So. Yeah, right there at the end where it's just the open G string. That's just rhythm. That's not actually the notes.
Thank you, Jarin, for sharing something, the very first electric bass duet I have ever heard. Awesome.
You're welcome, Dr. Moser. Would it help if I put it into standard notation and not tab?
Well, what do you think? If you're getting this on music, do you like the tab more or do you like notes?
I mean, I can read bass clef, but I can't translate my bass to the bass clef, so I write it on a tab. So, and tab's easy to understand for me for bass, but when it comes to you guys, maybe not so. So.
I was getting a little bit of distortion or just static or something on my end. I don't know if anybody else was.
Yeah, I was too.
Wondered if that was just.
I was too.
If we're presenting and we're allowing the things to play in through the mic like Chris's was, I don't know if yours is doing that. There's an audio setting. You have to go on the browser for Zoom to get to like an advanced setting where you can have the option to turn on original sound, and then that should take off the automatic compression Zoom does. So just for the future, if you're going to present something or if you want us to hear something, just check that out before you present.
It would be really nice. Aaron, you're exactly right. We have this problem too all the time in our auditions when the distortion it gets unbearable, and then we'll go 5 or 10 minutes where we can't hear anything because Zoom has pulled down the sound so much. And so it would be really lovely if I know you're busy, but like a 2 or 3 minute like Zoom video where you make a video where you show, okay, if you go right here and go right here, this will help. Then we could like even push that, put that file out to everybody and say, hey, if you're about to present, watch this little 2-minute thing to make sure that your settings are right so that we actually get the sound as is as opposed to distorted.
I can do that at some point, yeah.
Thanks. That would be awesome.
This is a cool piece, though, Jarin. I don't want to just not talk about your piece. I don't know if it's just the bass tone that's used in Note Flight. A little bit the harmonies. For some reason, it reminds me of the band Tool. I don't know if you ever listened to Tool or not. But,
like one song.
Okay, they're a pretty cool band. I used to be really into them, but I don't know. It's just that it kind of has that kind of feel. But no, it's pretty cool. Did you write this like you were playing and then notating it? Or did you write this away from your instrument?
I had my instrument in my hand as I was writing it.
Nice.
The second piece sounded almost medieval. It was kind of cool. Like the harmonies were very medieval sounding. I love that style of sound, and yeah, the way Note Flight has the bass sound going, it actually helped that out a lot. So, yeah, that made it sound really neat.
That second half that he's referring to, Jarin, your spacing between your voices, for the most part, is a good bit larger than the spacing between a lot of the voices in the first half or the first piece. I didn't know if it was two pieces or, but the first one that we listened to. Of course, until I hear it live, it will be hard to make any judgments. So like I said, I haven't heard a whole lot of duets of live electric bass, so it could be just the Note Flight thing. But I like the space with these, and one of them being low on the E string, like this first thing we're looking at now with that low G on the E string on the third fret, and then the high open G, open string on the other one. That type of writing, it was a lot easier to figure out what is the voice leading, what's happening with the two different voices, what harmonies are being implied. Some of the first part, when it got really crunchy and you had one bass playing thirds and another bass playing thirds, and they were really close to one another, that it could be, like I said, the Note Flight thing. I want to hear it live, but it also could be that there's so many notes and they're low, and when there's so many notes low together, I mean, the bigger the instrument, the more space that these notes need. The lower the notes, the more space they need around them for us to actually, our ears, just the way that our ears work, we can't deduce those as well as we can the upper one. So just consider that, since you're writing for two really low instruments. If you put a big old thick low third on one and a low third on the other, it could be that we don't hear anything but that, depending on how it's played.
Yeah, that's a rule of thumb. You learn in orchestration, talk about too, that you go with the harmonic series, which has the bigger intervals on the bottom. And so when you have those low instruments and bass instruments, you want to have like octaves and fifths between them, and you got thirds and seconds too low. It just sounds, it sounds muddy or just kind of unclear what's going on, when it would be lovely if it was just spaced out, like Dr. Moser said.
Yeah, spreading out the voices in there, where it's not just like a wash. That's definitely something that I should go back and look at, specifically in the first piece, more so than the second duet. But that is something that I should go back and do.
Explain to me a little bit, Jarin. I just am not familiar enough with the rhythmic notation in tab notation. That, like, I'm what we're looking at here. I see these little lines, and I see that sometimes it looks like there's maybe 3 beats, and sometimes it looks like there may be 2, and sometimes it looks like there's 3.5. Like, what is it?
So like specifically like this measure, for example, that the mouse is over. Like you just want to think of it like an actual note, like the stem. So I mean, it's super easy to tell, like all the way over here, like, oh yeah, this is an 1/8 and 2/16 notes. Over here, it kind of takes a little bit of implied knowledge of like, okay, here's a quarter note, here's another staff, okay, or staff, here's another line. So how long until my next one? Okay, all the way out here, and it's not marked as an 1/8 note. So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4.
I see. So it's a little spatial. It's like if it were just 1, 2, 3, the lines would have been nice and even across the board. But since there's that much space in the middle between the second and third line, like that person's just going to wait a little bit longer, and it's going to turn into what like we could maybe call a half note or something like that.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of implied stuff when you're reading like a rhythm on a tab, plus tabs aren't meant for rhythm. They're just like,
Right.
oh hey, here's the notes, and go listen to the song and figure it out.
Yeah, interesting. I just haven't seen it before.
I have a question on that second measure there in the bottom part, the little dot. It looks like a dot beside the 5, the second 5.
Yeah.
What is it? What the 9 up here later, and the 4 over. What do those dots signify?
Exactly what they would if it was like this was like quarter note and a half note, put a dot on it. So then we have the other 3 beats of this 4/4 measure. So
It basically treats the numbers as like a note head.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
So that's like a dotted half note in the second measure, and a dotted quarter note where the 4 is.
Huh. I see now. Yeah, they're like little note heads with little dots, just the same old as we would do, but with numbers. Pretty cool.
Okay.
You have someone in mind to play the other part with you, Jarin? You could record one and then record the other.
I have absolutely no idea right now. I really I want to go back and make that first short, like one phrase duet. I want to go back. I really want to make that long because I like the idea that I had there, specifically with like that like measure and a half that I had of like the melody line having a tap that goes in both directions. So it's kind of like 3 parts in a duet.
Since it's electric bass, if you do record it, you should definitely experiment with some effects and whatnot, and just go full for it and see what you can really some sounds you can really get what could sound cool with the multiple bass guitars. Like maybe even something as simple as like a chorus or a light delay or flanger might like add a really cool effect to the whole thing.
Just like put a tube screamer on it.
And help us to determine who's what. I mean, that might help distinguish the problem that I was having with that first one, that's not being able to tell what was what. If one of them's different, distorted.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any final volunteer?
I have something I can show.
Awesome.
I have 2 different things that I could. So, anybody, I have a wind quintet piece and an overture for orchestra. Do y'all have any preference on which one I do?
Whichever one you want to share.
Okay, sure. That's fair. We'll do the wind quintet piece since I've been obsessed with those lately. Let me see if I can figure this. Share computer sound. Hopefully this will work. Okay, so y'all see the piece there, right? Okay, and I have a MP3 of it. The piece might have gone away. I'm not sure how that works.
Now the piece is still there. This will work great if you have an MP3 that you can just play, because
Okay.
if you shared computer sound.
If I did, here's the.
Very, very nice.
Thank you. Yeah, so I was up one night and I was it was like 11. I was like, I want to start working on a wind quintet piece. It was like 11 p.m. and I stayed up till like 4 a.m. and had the whole thing, written down, at least a rough draft. Now I woke up the next morning and changed some stuff. But it was middle of quarantine. Time didn't matter. It's just.
I don't think the I don't think the playback did the piece justice as far as articulation. What you wrote there, is not what we heard. It's a little more smeared together.
Yeah.
The accent staccato, and there's not much you can do about that. But I think I like what you've done. What you're trying to do. You got that going on against the clarinet slurs and syncopation there. It makes it just sound like sort of controlled chaos there at first. But then you get to the section, the next section where, it's a nice contrast on over, well, even past this, where you thinned out the texture for one thing. And that's always a good thing to do in a quintet is play around with your how many instruments do you have playing at once? You don't want all 5 of them playing all the time, all the way through at once. You want to have different combinations as it goes, and so I just really like the way you contrasted that next section. I would say though that very last note in the oboe, that low B, that's going to be a little bit of a challenge to play softly.
How about that low E in the last note of bassoon? You bassoonist, I guess Bishop's not here. Carter, you got that one easy? Piano, low E?
That one honks right out.
Caleb, you could use another E in your reverent. Reverent has another E in it. Maybe not a bassoon E, but in English, an E.
It was late. It was really late. I see that. Now I'll just keep it that way just because now. Yeah.
We're waiting on that low bassoon E at the very end, and it's like that's the E that is needed.
Sure. We'll stay to that on purpose. Yeah.
That thing Aaron said earlier about there can't be too much dissonance. Yeah, that's true.
Those measures that we're looking at right here, particularly 28, 29, and 30, and I guess 31 too, reminded me a lot of Bartok. That's a good thing. Congratulations.
Cool.
Actually, I actually got more Rite of Spring vibes from this a little bit. With the, I guess it was those like minor thirds and just interesting intervals in general. It gives it kind of that kind of creepy, but also kind of like just mysterious vibe overall. So.
Yeah, I like how you've got the instruments echoing each other in the sequential 16th note things.
Yeah, something I've struggled with in the past with writing music is like I'll kind of like have like a melody and then everything else will just be a harmony in the background, and I'm kind of just thinking just melody and chords, the basis of the music I grew up playing in church and stuff and all that. But I always found it so intriguing when I heard this music where like all these different voices were going all over the place, and they still, whether they made harmonic sense or not was not quite as important, where there's just these voices that we're all individual, and that's kind of what I was going for here. Of course, then you still have the drone with the clarinet and the horn. But I just thought that was cool, so I did it anyways.
Yeah, but if you go through each line and just sort of sing through it, pretend you're playing it or singing it or whatever, and what would you do to make it more lyrical? And that's always good with coming up with little devices that make it sound more like individual pieces rather than an accompaniment with a melody.
Caleb, that bassoon part, and I don't know what measure it is, 20 or somewhere around in there, after the railroad tracks, where there's the 16th and 30 seconds, are those supposed to be some of that slurred?
Yeah, I misput that there, and I forgot.
Oh, I thought so. Because that would be difficult to time.
Yeah. That was, I thought about it the other night, and I was looking over it again, and then I just forgot to do it. Spent the other nights, I want to say it was actually last Tuesday. I spent the last Tuesday working on fixing a lot, those grace notes on the flute there didn't have slurs or anything. And a lot of these notes, also that bassoon part in the measure 21 there, it has the two little trill thingies on it. It's supposed to have one, and I've taken one off 7 times, and it just keeps coming back on finale. I don't know why.
Maybe it's meant to be.
I guess.
You could try just to lead in the whole measure and then re-encode.
Yeah, that's probably what I'll end up doing. But
delete the whole piece and start over.
Just try again. That way
Still
I can,
never gonna go away.
can spell my words right, maybe, if I try again.
On measure 23, there at the bottom of the screen, I would take that slur on up to the staccato note.
Yeah, that makes more sense. All things considered. And also things like this. I mean, I don't know what's easy or difficult. I probably, like I said, it was very late at night, so I probably just looked it over. I probably would have gone to the staccato. There's also a lot of things that I just don't. I'm just kind of guessing.
Late at night, half asleep. Those are really creative times.
They are. I agree.
I don't know if we would have any rock music if we took all music that was written late at night, half asleep, away from the greats of the rock bands. So it should be true for classical too.
Getting up early and being kind of groggy is good for being creative too.
So what's next with this?
I've started working on a second movement to it, and it's a little more dare I say silly, but it starts out in 5/8 and goes to I've started working on some stuff. I can't remember what it looks like, but it's been a while. But I do have
movements?
a plan. Yes.
Okay, you have a plan. Multiple movements is in the plan.
At least a vague plan of multiple movements. Now with the intention with this, because I didn't feel like that ending was a very satisfying way to leave this off.
And if you're going to gather together 5 instruments, give them more than 2 minutes.
Yeah. So the next one has I'm trying to have little callbacks to things. Where is it that I'm thinking of? Especially in this measure 28 right here. I have a lot of that little, like, on the beats, 30-second notes, the da-da-da. And I have a lot of those in the next piece as well. So I'm trying to keep things tied together and whatnot.
Sorry, guys, I gotta run off to practice, but you can wrap it up as whenever you would like to, Moser.
Well, I guess I'll stop screen sharing now if I can figure out how to.
I'd say it was not a terrible technological first screen sharing type of SCI meeting. Iron out a couple of the kinks and it'll even be better. Aaron, if it's not too much to ask, if you could record a real quick thing, that would be absolutely ideal, since you seem to have a good knowledge of what we ought to do, especially if you have Finale on your computer and like actually try it out. I'd be happy to be the guinea pig if you want to like be the, try something out and share it with me, and I'll let you know how it sounds, or vice versa.
Yeah, I could definitely have something by our next meeting time for sure. I'll try and get that by Monday so we can, for anyone presenting, they have at least 24 hours to look over their settings and fix that so we have good sound.
Awesome. Thanks. Anything
Hopefully,
else?
once we all learn Zoom, we won't need it anymore.
Amen to that. We good? Good meeting. It's the easiest secretary work. This has been recorded, and so I'll give this file to Caleb, and I will know what he'll do with it, but at least he took exquisite digital notes of this hour. Congratulations. So see y'all next week.
So long, all.